Most people think marrying into a billionaire family is the ultimate I won at life card. They see the private jets, the Hamptons estates, the $50,000 watches, and they think, man, that guy is set for life. I used to be one of those people. 6 months ago, I was a freelance architect in Ohio, living in a studio apartment that smelled like stale coffee and old blueprints. I thought marrying Julianna Sterling was a glitch in the universe, a miracle that happened to a regular guy like me. But here's the thing you need to understand about the 0.01%. They don't do miracles. They don't do anything out of the goodness of their hearts. In the world of the ultra-rich, everything is a transaction. Every smile is a contract. Every I love you is a line in a ledger. I didn't realize that I wasn't being welcomed into a family. I was being acquired, like a piece of real estate, like a backup generator. I'm recording this because I don't think I have much time. My name is Leo, and 3 days ago, I was supposed to be the heir to the Sterling Empire. Today, I'm a ghost running for my life. If you're watching this and my channel hasn't seen an update in 48 hours, well, you'll know that the Sterlings finally closed the deal. Let me tell you how I became the most expensive insurance policy in American history. It started at a gallery opening in Soho. I was there for the free wine, honestly. Then, I saw Julianna. She wasn't dripping in diamonds like the others. She was understated, sharp, and had this way of looking at you, like she was reading your DNA. Our first 3 months were a whirlwind. She was obsessed with my lifestyle. Not my work, but me. She asked about my childhood in rural Ohio, my high school football days, and she was weirdly fixated on my grandfather, who lived to be 104 without ever taking a pill. You have such clean energy, Leo, she'd tell me. I thought it was just New York hippie talk. I was an idiot. When it came time to meet her father, Silas Sterling, I expected a tough talk about my intentions. You know, the classic, "What are your plans for my daughter?" speech. But dinner at their Connecticut estate was clinical. Silas is the kind of man who owns the banks that own your debt. He sat at the head of a table that could seat 40, barely touching his food. He didn't ask about my career. He didn't ask if I loved his daughter. He leaned in, his eyes like two cold marbles, and asked, "Leo, tell me about your medical history. Any heart disease in the family? Autoimmune issues?" I laughed, thinking it was a joke. "Sir, I've never even had a cavity. My blood type is O negative, the universal donor. My doctors say I'm a freak of nature." The room went silent. Silas didn't laugh. He just looked at Julianna and nodded. That nod? That was the moment my fate was sealed. I thought I passed a test. I didn't realize I just passed an inspection.
We got married 6 weeks later. It was the kind of wedding that makes the front page of Vogue. But the moment the honeymoon ended and we moved into the family wing of the Sterling estate, the atmosphere shifted. It started with the wellness protocol. Julianna told me that because the family was so high profile, they had a private medical team on site. Kidnapping risks, biological threats, you name it, she said. She made it sound like security. Every morning at 6 a.m., a man named Dr. Harris would knock on our door. Blood draws. Every single day. Then came the MRIs, the stress tests. They had me on a specific diet. Organic, high protein, zero alcohol. They even gave me these vitamin supplements that I had to take in front of them. "I feel like a prize-winning stallion," I joked to Julianna one night. She was brushing her hair, staring into the mirror. She didn't look at me. She just said, "We just want to make sure you stay exactly the way you are, Leo. You're perfect. Can't afford for anything to change." I started feeling hazy. Not sick, just disconnected. Like I was being prepped for something. My phone started losing signal in certain rooms.
My car keys were misplaced by the staff. I was a prisoner in a 5-star hotel, and the walls were closing in. The breaking point was the foundation gala. The house was full of the most powerful people in the country. Senators, tech moguls, judges. Everyone was whispering. I was heading to the library to find some peace when I heard Silas's voice through the heavy oak doors. He was talking to Dr. Eris. His cellular regeneration is off the charts, Eris was saying. The neural compatibility is 99.8%. It's a miracle match, Silas. We can't wait for the winter. Your father's cognitive decline is accelerating. We need to move the transfer to next week. Silas sighed, a sound of pure relief. Good. Julianna has done a fine job keeping him docile. Make sure the vessel is hydrated. I want the transition to be seamless. Vessel. That word hit me like a physical blow. I wasn't a husband. I was a vessel. I waited until they left, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it would break. I broke into Silas's desk. I didn't find money or stock options. I found a leather-bound ledger. In it were names, 5 of them, all young men, all athletes, all with O-negative blood. All of them had married into the Sterling family or their subsidiaries over the last 20 years. I looked them up on my phone with the last bit of data I had. Mark Evans, married 2008, died 2009, sudden cardiac arrest. David Chen, married 2012, died 2013, skiing accident. But none of them had open casket funerals. All were cremated within 24 hours. Then I found the blueprint for something called the Sterling procedure. It wasn't about organ transplants. It was worse. It was a radical experimental neurotransfer, using a biological host to house the consciousness and neural patterns of a dying elder. Old man Sterling, the patriarch who built the empire, was 94 and dying of organ failure. But he wasn't going to die. He was just going to move into me. I had to get out, now. I went back to our suite. I needed to find my passport and my vitamin stash. I'd started spitting them out weeks ago, realizing they were mild sedatives. Julianna was there. She was holding my bag. "Where are you going, Leo?" she asked. Her voice was so calm, it was terrifying. "I know," I said. My voice was shaking. "I know about Mark Evans. I know about the vessel logs. I'm leaving, Julianna. And if you try to stop me, I'm going to the press." She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She walked over and touched my cheek. "Leo, you were a freelance architect with $60 in your bank account. You were nobody. Now you get to be part of the most powerful legacy in history. You live forever. Your body will see the next century. Isn't that better than rotting in Ohio?" "That's not living," I yelled. "That's murder." "No," she whispered. "That's an upgrade." She signaled the door. 2 of those medical orderlies stepped in. They had a sedative dart. I didn't wait. I grabbed the heavy marble bust from the mantel and threw it through the window. The sound of shattering glass was like a starting gun. I jumped. It was a 15-foot drop into the rose bushes. I hit the ground, felt my ankle pop, but the adrenaline was so thick I didn't care. I ran toward the woods, not the gates. I knew the gates would be a trap. I spent my childhood hunting in the Appalachian woods. I knew how to disappear in the dark. I circled back to the estate's secondary garage. I knew Silas kept his vintage collection there, cars that didn't have GPS tracking or remote kill switches. But I didn't just want to escape. I wanted to burn it down. I broke into the security hub in the garage. Using a trick I learned back in college, I bypassed the admin lock on their local server. I found what I needed: the harvest videos. They had recorded the previous transfers. I saw what happened to the last vessel. I saw the light go out of his eyes as they hooked him up to the machines. It was the most clinical, cold-blooded thing I've ever witnessed. I started an upload. I sent the files to every major news outlet, every leak site, and a cloud drive I'd shared with an old friend from the military. The progress bar was at 80% when the garage door hummed open. Silas Sterling stood there, holding a small high-tech remote. "Leo," he said, his voice echoing, "you're destroying a masterpiece. My father built this country. He deserves to see what it becomes." "He had his time," I spat. "Buy a yacht, buy an island. You don't get to buy a human soul." "In this house," Silas said, stepping closer, "we buy everything." He pressed a button and the alarm started blaring. I hit enter on the final upload just as an orderly tackled me. We crashed into a 1960s Ferrari. Fought like a man possessed. I wasn't fighting for my life anymore. I was fighting to make sure they couldn't do this to anyone else. I managed to grab a flare from the emergency kit on the wall. I lit it and held it over the gas tank of a half-restored Mustang. "Let me go," I snarled, "or we all go up together." Silas looked at the car, worth millions, and then at me. For the first time, he looked afraid. Not for his life, but for his property. I backed out into the night, the flare still burning, and disappeared into the tree line just as the first security SUV roared up. I've been on the move for 3 days. I haven't slept more than an hour at a time. The Sterlings have already started the cleanup. Half the links I sent out have been 404'd. The news outlets are silent, probably because the Sterlings sit on their boards of directors. But they can't catch everything. They sent me a message an hour ago. No threats, just a number. $100 million. That's what they're offering for me to come back, sign a non-disclosure agreement, and relocate to a private island. They think everyone has a price. They think because they chose me for my clean DNA, I must be as cold as they are. But they're wrong. I'm posting this video to every platform I can find. I don't want their money. I want people to know that behind those richest families in America lists, there are monsters who think they've evolved past death. My name is Leo. I'm an architect. I'm a husband. And I am not a vessel. This is the last time you see me. Don't let them delete the truth.